Alright, hi everyone. So, I wanted to talk about um, the ongoing inquiry or um, hobby or the living investigation um, that continues to deepen this when observing the tendency of the mind, the nature of thought, the nature of the personal or individual separate mind. In that um, it has a tendency that can be observed, a signature, or really its own world, its own way of seeing or understanding, in that it's limited to that. What you are, you could say it's beyond that, but the mind, the personal point of view, operates only within its own limitations. How it makes the world look like one way or the other. It gives it definition. It gives it polarities or objectivity, a knowability or an understanding. It makes the world look a certain way. It's a function that is always running. It's always interpreting. It does it automatically, and it exists as polarities or dualities in the world of this or that, self or other, this way or that way. Its world is separated. Its world is set upon this assumption that what I am is the subject and I'm relating to my objective experience. And upon that is then built the objective experience and the subjective point of view. This tendency is something that can be noticed through practice. When these thoughts appear, they may not appear as thoughts, they may appear to be the way reality is, or the way I am, or the way experience is, in a solid and real, definable way. Or it can appear as what it is, which is a thought, the mind operating within its own limitations. And in seeing that as a thought, those limitations can become clear for what they are, which isn't what I am, which isn't inherent in experience. The signature can be noticed just through becoming interested in the nature of mind, becoming interested in this experience and how and why it looks or feels the way it does. And we can notice that this tendency is just here. It seems to be just here. We can notice that it comes and goes in the form of a thought about this or that. I thought about this experience, reality being a certain way, a belief for a point of view, and in doing that, it automatically assumes or takes the form of a limited point of view, and something being a certain way gives rise to the experience of, or the real experience of it not being another way, and that being inherent about the world, reality, or experience. And this happens all the time, and it happens in varying degrees of subtlety. So, for example, I'm a bad person, or that person is bad. And the thought is a belief, a judgment that's there to serve the function of orienting us through life in a way that we can avoid that which is deemed bad. Or we can strive towards, if it's a personal thing, that which is deemed good. So, for example, in living the belief that I am a bad person, or I'm not good enough, it automatically creates an experience that's not here, in being that I'm not a good person, or I'm not good enough. And then reality experience is then coloured with that assumption, that belief, that way it is, our polarity, automatically limiting experience, our experience of ourselves, automatically excluding the reality of experience here. For example, called I'm a good person, or I am enough. That's just one example, and that might be an emotionally charged belief that feels very real because it arises with certain emotions, certain sensations, a certain visceral flavour of experience. But this goes down and down to more and more subtle layers. For example, the experience of what I'm experiencing now is an outside world, that these objects are distinct and they're over there. Assuming the position of the separate subject that's back here, and giving rise to the necessity to relate to experience, a complexity that's added to the most essential experience available. And there's an effort in that. There's something constantly running in that to maintain that relationship there, which isn't actually here, to prop up that illusion that I am separate. I am apart from the world. I'm distinct from the world and other people, and I have these qualities. These are my qualities. This is myself. I'm a bad person. I'm not good enough. Or I need to become better, or I need to become lovable, or something like that. Or that this other person is a bad person. This is their inherent quality, a quality of badness, or it could even be goodness. This person is better than I am, and so on. But that's all based off this assumption, the tendency of the mind to exist in polarities, in the world of this and that, light and dark, good or bad. That's its world. And that tendency can be observed whenever it appears in the form of a thought. And it has a particular experiential flavour to it. feeling of separateness, apartness, distance, or a feeling of lacking or loss of control, or this kind of uncomfortable relationship where, for example, I relate to a future experience that's not happened yet, or a past experience that did happen. There's a distance in that, there's an isolation built into that is almost born when that belief takes hold on experience, such that it suggests that this is the reality. So that tendency can be noticed and it can be recognized. When it appears, it becomes familiar, it's noticed for what it is, as in something that comes and goes, something that isn't inherent to what I am, isn't inherent to my experience of myself, or isn't inherent to reality. So that, even just that noticing of that tendency when it appears, what it feels like, the leaning back or the connecting to something deeper that's more inherent, that is always here, kind of brings into contrast more what I am. It simplifies the experience by disidentifying from the terms of the mind, the world of this or that. And I think it's a very good practice. So for example, in the mind, a thought comes along, or even the world appears to be a certain way. It can come in the form of insight, or it can look like an awakening where, okay, I get it now, this is the way it is. Reality is like this. The nature of myself is like this. There's a doubt built into that can be felt at an intuitive level. And the doubt is the existence of the possibility of the opposite being true, of the reverse polarity of this and that. So if reality confirms itself to you as being a specific way, if there's a way it is, that's a limitation, because you feel, if you're attentive to what's more simple than that you are, what's more immediate, what's more present than that, you feel that doubt appear, as in, like, if it's this way, then what is that way? Or what is the way it isn't? Is there a way it isn't? The mind never gets it, because born from this experience is just more questions, more doubt, more uncertainty. And it may be that there is a experience of this simplicity, an awakening, so to speak, an insight, but quickly that insight is framed by the mind by its own terms, and it looks like a certain way. It looks like I got something, or I understand something, or this awakening thing, reality, is now in some way knowable to me. But in there's the doubt, there's the impossibility of this being knowable, and it's always going to be framed in a separated way, in a knowable way, in a duality, in the world of this or that. So it can appear in very subtle ways, like what I am is awareness. I get that now. I know myself to be awareness, and whilst that description there, that conclusion points to a mysterious and unknowable experience of direct presence or awakening, the mind has an incredible ability to subtly frame that in a way that I can feel like I understand this, like I've got this, like I have achieved something or realised something, and that's a conclusion that's now owned by me in a personal way. This is my awakening, and it happened at this time. Maybe I I lost it, it's not here right now, or it's going to happen again and get clearer in the future. So you see how messy it gets quickly. So you see in this world of this or that, it gives rise to more complexities, more questions, more movement forwards in time to a different version of this. A more complete, more peaceful, more awake version of this that's just not here right now. Or was here and isn't now, or will be here in the future. The big belief, the big felt assumption behind that is that I'm a separate thing moving through time. The awakening is a inherently completely personal journey. That this is an experience that's going to happen to me, it's going to complete me, or it's going to get me out of this experience. Say the experience of being not good enough or being not complete. The completion will appear for me in the future in the form of an experience, which is an object in time, and that's going to remove me from that which I find undesirable about this experience right now, which is usually a thought, or a thought about a sensation. So I think it's a great practice just to notice that. Does reality, my experience of myself, look a certain way? This gets very subtle. It might not appear in overt language in the mind. It may be seem like a feeling, like a real experience of this being a certain way. And the more we attune to that, the less power that the world of this and that is going to have or exert over this experience. The more mysterious and incredible it's going to be in the way that it is now, which isn't any way other than it is. Confusing language, but as in liberation, freedom is here as this, whatever you're experiencing right now. And what we are is free enough to seem to appear as an experience of limitation, of personal suffering, of this and that, but at the same time, it's not that. It's not this way or that way, it's both and neither. So it's like, what is it that you are that is here now, that is neither good nor bad, neither awake nor asleep, that's too immediate, too simple to have them to require us to move into the world of this and that, to harness or comprehend. What are you right now that is here, but is neither here nor there? That is fundamental to the experience of this and that, one way or another way, self or other. That we don't need to take a point of view on to understand or to comprehend. That's beyond or before comprehension whatsoever. And there's a discomfort in this. The mind doesn't like to exist. It doesn't exist, but it doesn't like its own disappearance into the world of simplicity, of freedom, into its own non-dual nature. Because it feels like it always has to run, it always has to be online to keep me safe, or to keep me in control of my experience or my understanding. And in this practice that I'm describing, this noticing of that tendency, only when it appears now, of this and that, of reality looking, being a certain way and not being another way, of awakening being there and not here. The mind isn't comfortable in that immediacy, because it's what you are that's here. It doesn't exclude those thoughts or the world of this and that, but isn't essential to it, is free from it, free from that world already. So part of us, the personal part, senses that at some level, and it can react. It can grasp to try and find what's going on, what way is this, how can I relate to this, how can I understand this, how can I own this experience in a satisfying, conclusive way. But it doesn't need to do that. That doesn't need to happen for you to be what you are, because it is inherent. What isn't inherent is the way it is. What isn't inherent is the real experience of this or that, as what this is, as what I am. So the question might appear that the mind asks questions about this, or at least did for me constantly. Is it this way or is it that way? Whenever that appears, it can be noticed and let go of, consumed by the paradox of immediacy, that it's neither and both, that it's this way and that way, that it is a way and isn't a way at the same time. And what that looks like is this as it is right now. Is this the right experience or the wrong experience? What are you right now that's here, that's neither right or wrong? It's too simple, too immediate to have to exist in the world of this or that. Anyway, that'll have to do for now. I'll talk to you next time.